Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to convert metric units. And this is strictly using the King Henry method. I made a previous video using proportions, so you can look at that method for the other way. Let's go ahead and get started with things you need to know before we get started with practice. Of course, you should be familiar with this chart by now. I changed a couple of words to make it more friendly for us. So, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Again, the same thing that we talked about when we are on customary, when we go from a large unit to a smaller unit, we're going to multiply. So, therefore, our number should be getting bigger. And again, all you're doing, since everything is base 10, is adding zeros every single time. So you should see zeros. Then, of course, when you're going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, you're going to divide. And this time, you might have decimals and have to add zeros in front of your number. Again, because it's getting smaller. So make sure, if you don't know anything else, make sure you know where our key units are at. And again, these are called our base units: meters, liters, grams. Anything starting with K is going to go under our kilo, our bit. Anything starting with M, of course, is our milli, and that'll be our smaller unit. And then we only have one unit other than those two that we really need to focus on, and that's centi, just for sixth grade. All others you will learn about later. So let's go ahead and get started with some practice. Okay, so let's look at our first practice problem. 218 centimeters is equal to how many meters? The way I like to do it is first identify where are we coming from, or where are we coming from, and then which way are we going? Are we going to get smaller, or are we going to get larger? And then we'll determine what operation we would do, whether we would multiply or whether we would divide. In this case, I'm starting at my centimeters. So in this case, we know that centi is C. Okay? And then I'm going to my meters, which in this case would be under my U for my unit. So remember, I told you those base units are going to be super important: liters, grams, and meters. And we're going to meters. So in this case, I'm going to my U. And we're simply just going to count how many times or how many jumps I make in order for me to get to the U. So in this case, 1, 2. I make 2 jumps to get 2 units. In this case, I would take my 218. Remember, when you have a whole number, where's my decimal going to be? It's going to be at the end of my number. So I would need to, in this case, we're getting smaller, so we're going to divide. I would need this to divide this. So in this case, I'll just move my decimal 2 spots. 1, 2. And so in this case, we know that 218 centimeters is equal to 2 and 1800ths meter, or 2.18 meters. Let's look at another one. Okay, number 2. So again, first let's identify what unit we're starting with. We're starting with my grams, would be under my base unit. And we're going to kilograms. And remember, anything that starts with the K will be under my kilo. So in this case, we're going to the left, and that means we're getting smaller. We're going to divide. Okay? So in this case, we'll just jump and see how many times it would take me to reach my K. 1, 2, 3 times. We'll write our number down to identify where my decimal would go. So in this case, again, we're starting with the whole number. So my decimal is going to be at the end, and I'm going to move it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Or we can leave off the 0. It's still giving the same answer. Let's try one last one, and then we'll look at 2 word problems. Number 3. So in this case, again, same thing we've been doing in the others. We would identify where we're starting with. Again, we're talking about liters, so liters will be at my base unit. And we're going to milliliters. Remember, anything that starts with the M, that's going to be under my milli. So in this case, let's circle both of them. In this case, I'm going to get bigger. So my number is going to be multiplied. So in this case, 1, 2, 3 times. The lucky thing for this one already has a decimal. So when it already has a decimal, I'm going to use that same place value where it's at right there to move my decimal 3 times to the right. 1, 2, 3. Of course, where I have an open spot, I would add a placeholder. So now we know that 6.56 liters is equal to 6,560 milliliters. Let's look at word problems now. Okay, so let's look at some of the word problems now on how we would solve, again, doing the same exact steps, but this time just in word form. Sharon walked 2.5 meters. How far does she walk in millimeters? So again, first let's identify where we're at and where we're going and in which direction that we're going. So in this case, we're going from meters, which is in my units or my base, and we're going to millimeters, which is under my milli. Do not let the fraction scare you. We know that 1/2 is equal to 0.5 or 5/10. So in this case, 2.5 meters is equal to how many millimeters? So again, since we already have my decimal, that makes it just a little bit more easier. So in this case, we're going here and we're going to count how many times I move to my M. So in this case, 1, 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. I already have my decimal. 1, 2, 3 times. And what do you think we do with those open spots? We put placeholders. So in this case, 2.5 meters is equal to 2,500 millimeters. Let's just try one more word problem before you go. A chef used 864 milliliters of cream for the dessert. How many liters of the cream did the chef use for the dessert? So we're going from millimeters to liters. So first let's identify where's my milliliters. Of course it's under M for milli. And then we're going to liters, which is under my base units. So in this case, I'm going to just move 1, 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. And this is 3 times to the left because remember, when I go from a small to a large, I'm dividing, I'm getting smaller. So in this case, remember where we put my decimal when I have a whole number at the end, and then I'm going to move it over 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. So in this case, 864 milliliters is equal to liters. On the last slide, I left you a few to practice independently. Let me know how you do and try these independently by yourself.